Finally, Trump has had no choice but to walk down in tears. During his time in the White House, the former President Donald Trump was accused of receiving illicit benefits from his administration, obtaining millions of dollars for his empire of businesses from foreign powers. This is what House Democrats say in a lengthy report. On Thursday morning, leftists on the House Oversight Panel presented a 56-page report in which they charged Trump with utilizing the government to benefit himself and his family financially. I will walk you through everything in this video. Please click the subscribe button and enable notifications before I continue. Thank you for signing up to receive daily breaking news from us. As per the research, dictatorships and negative actors such as China, Saudi Arabia, and Qatar gave Trump's organizations at least $778 million. The investigation lasted nearly 7 years, and the results are in the report. Records and documents obtained by House Oversight Democrats reveal a startling web of millions of dollars. Foreign governments and their delegates made direct payments to Trump-owned organizations throughout his tenure in the White House. According to the report's conclusions and records provided to the committee, Trump's organizations received over $500.5 million in payments from China during his presidency, with the majority spent at Trump buildings in New York and other countries. Trump owns 2 hotels, one in Las Vegas and one in Washington. Democrats on the House Oversight Committee expressly charged Trump with breaking the Foreign Emoluments Clause of the Constitution, which forbids the president from receiving benefits from foreign countries without Congress's consent. House Republicans terminated the inquiry, started in 2016 by the late Representative Roll Elijah Cummings, DMD, when he was the leading Democrat on the panel, and the report warns that its conclusions are inconclusive. According to referee Jamie Raskin DOMD, the leading Democrat on the oversight panel, the fact that $7.8 million is very likely just a fraction of Trump's collection of unlawful foreign state money is in itself an outrage and a clear spur to action. In 2019, House Democrats served Trump's old accounting firm, Mazars USA, with a subpoena. The Supreme Court upheld the subpoena in 2020, despite Trump's efforts to thwart the request. After Republicans took over the committee, Trump, Mazars, and the Democratic-controlled committee came to an agreement on terms for Mazars to provide its information on Trump. Mazars was finally released from its legal obligation to provide relevant records to the Democratic probe. For an extended period, Republican detectives have maintained that President Joe Biden benefited monetarily from his family's international dealings. Although the GOP LED investigation has produced evidence that the president's family generated millions of dollars from their overseas ventures, lawmakers have not yet accused Biden of being directly involved in such transactions. It's not even funny. The Democrats' fixation on the late President Donald Trump persists. In response to the allegation that the Bidens do not have a genuine business, but former President Trump does, House Oversight Committee Chair James Comer released a statement. According to the study, Trump's companies received foreign payments totaling at least $7 million during his administration, based on the little documents that Alpha House Oversight Democrats were able to collect. The Chinese embassy, the state-owned airline Hainan Airlines Holding Company, and the Industrial and Commercial Bank of China all provided funding to Trump's organizations from China. The committee verified a payment of 19, 0, and 191 fatalities from the Chinese embassy to a Trump in Washington, highlighting the ambiguity around the precise amount of payments paid to Trump's enterprises. The records indicate that I made a payment for an appearance date in August 2017, without specifying the duration of the payment. Therefore, it is possible that the total amount does not accurately reflect the actual expenses incurred for the stay or event. According to the study, Trump made a number of statements about China at the same time as the payments, and it is possible that these statements had an impact on foreign policy. Following the payments from the Chinese embassy, President Trump traveled to China in November 2017. There, he heaped praise on President Xi and, in a notable departure from his earlier public statements, supported Chinese trade practices. In a different case, Haunted Airlines Holding Company paid $5, $1,000, and $60 at a Trump hotel for an atypical 14-day and 14-month stay, according to the committee. The Mazars records don't go into detail about the particular services rendered other than mentioning an arrival date, a departure adult, and additional fees. According to the study, Mazars had no further material on Hainan Airlines, demonstrating that the Trump. It's possible that the accusers did not turn over all the paperwork related to these accusations. Additionally, the report estimates that the Industrial and Commercial Bank of China, a long-term tenant of Trump Tower since 2008, spent at least $5,157, or $160, at Trump Tower in New York between February 2017 and October 2019. This estimate is based on public filings with the Securities and Exchange Commission that formed the annual lease for the ICBC. The report claims that the ICBC raises serious questions about the Trump Organization's sincerity with its accounting firm, but it is not mentioned in any of the documents Mazar claimed to have located. The investigation concluded, among other things, that Saudi Arabia had spent at least $615,000 at Trump Tower and Trump's Hotel in Washington during Trump's presidency. The estimate was based on Mazar's scant records, which only included payments for 2018. The former President Trump was able to put his personal interests ahead of the interests of the nation by choosing to keep ownership of his corporate organizations and instead transfer authority to his 2 adult children. This move allowed him to enjoy a 7-day extended stay at Trump's Washington Inn and Trump Tower. Democrats in the House Oversight Committee further claimed that Trump broke the Domestic Emoluments Clause because of his repeated payments to domestic people, businesses, and government agencies, which create serious potential conflicts of interest. A comedian named John C. has publicly criticized former U.S. President Donald Trump. President Donald Trump expressed his disapproval of the prank. Known for his razor-sharp wit and caustic humor, C. did not hold back in criticizing Trump's effort at humor, igniting a passionate discussion among supporters and detractors alike. Kindly enable the notification bell and subscribe to receive our newest updates. C. and Trump crossed paths at a private function, which is when the incident started. Witnesses said that Trump tried to make a joke, but it didn't work. An uneasy silence fell over the audience. C., who never backs down from a conversation, seized the chance to openly express his disdain in a biting tweet that went viral very quickly. C. penned, "Though I've heard some awful jokes in my day, Trump's attempt at humor really wins. It's a depressing day for a former boss. Such poor standards. Don't get off topic, Mr. Trump. Obviously, humor isn't your forte." The remark sparked a heated debate on social media between Trump's fans and those of both parties. Some criticized him for speaking out against what they saw as an improper attempt at humor, while others charged that he was politicizing a lighthearted joke. The event even gave rise to a popular hashtag. CERM is where people can express their opinions. C. reiterated his critique in the interviews that followed, saying that comedy is a unique art form that calls for a certain level of dexterity. Trump's joke lacked the wit and cunning required to be funny. "I feel it's my duty as a comedian to expose these initiatives when they don't work." C's remarks also sparked new conversations regarding comedians' critiques of political figures. While some contend that comedians should utilize their platform to hold those in positions of authority accountable, others think that humor and politics should stay apart. His willingness to voice his opinions has made him a well-known participant in this continuing discussion. Given Trump's history of making contentious statements, C's criticism has struck a chord with many individuals who believe that humor should not be used as a cover for rude or damaging remarks. However, others argue that humor should be granted greater leeway and not be subject to the same standards as other forms of communication. Let us know what you think in the comments section below while you wait. Please give us a thumbs up if you thought this video was insightful. A few minutes ago, New York Attorney General Letitia James dismissed another astounding $370 million fraud action against Donald Trump and his 3 children, causing them to cry uncontrollably. I'll go over everything with you in this little video. Keep watching to gain a deeper understanding. Before I begin this video, let me first mention that if you think our information is fascinating, please remember to subscribe so you don't miss any of our daily news. I'm grateful. In a civil fraud case against Trump, New York Attorney General Letitia James requested the judge award Trump more than $370 million. In a written brief submitted a week before closing arguments in the civil fraud trial, Letitia James requested the judge to order Donald Trump to pay a fine of over $370 million, claiming that it would distribute profits from 10 years of criminal conduct and fraudulent business practices. James also demanded a lifelong ban on Trump's and 2 former deputies from the Trump Organization's ability to work in New York real estate, Alan Weisselberg and Jeffrey McConnell. Attorney General Letitia James of New York accused Trump, his sons Eric and Donald Trump Jr., and other high-ranking Trump Organization executives of being involved in a decades-long plot to inflate Trump's net worth using these financial disclosure statements in order to obtain better loan terms. The ex-president has denied any misconduct, and his attorneys maintained that Trump's purportedly exaggerated appraisals were a result of his acumen as a businessman. Before the planned closing arguments on January 11, both sides filed written briefs on Friday. According to James, their arguments centered around the notion that almost all of the steps they took to prepare the report's financial situation were part of a fraudulent plot. The removal of Trump from New York real estate listings is the only way to stop fraud in the future. James further claims that Donald Trump Jr. and Eric Trump oversee the Trump Organization. In order to make sure the organization no longer breaks the law, the leader must be under court supervision for at least 5 years and demonstrate effective leadership. The $370 million penalty demand, together with 9% yearly interest, is a significant rise above James's initial $250 million reparation demand. She defended the increase in Friday's filing, saying that Trump, his sons, and senior advisors knew they were involved in the fraud and profited from it directly. Business loans allegedly received by means of falsified financial accounts account for the majority of the fine that has been asked for by the Trump Organization. James contended, based on expert testimony, that Trump cost his lenders $168 million, which represents the amount the banks would have earned if Trump had received interest rates that accurately reflected the value of his assets. James further contended that the Trump Organization generated a profit of $139, of which 408 out of 146 years came from the sale, by using fictitious paperwork to win a bid to restore and run a hotel in the old post office building in Washington, D.C. Offer it for sale. Through this deal, Donald Trump himself made $126, $820,660, and his sons made $4,000 and $13,124 apiece. The corporation also made around $60 million from the sale of Trump's Ferry Point golf course in New York. James contends that these arrangements were advantageous to both McConney and Weisselberg. The Trump Organization utilized their hefty severance agreements to exert control over their former executives through a series of probes. After the disclosure of these illicit activities, Eric Trump and Donald Trump Jr. gave Weisselberg and McConnell large severance payouts, preventing them from participating in further judicial proceedings. James suggested that instead of firing them, they should do theirs right now. Trump's legal team claimed in their defense document that the Attorney General's argument regarding restitution was essentially incorrect. James attempted to close the gap in the evidence by providing expert testimony, but none of the lenders, according to Trump's attorneys, stated they would have acted differently if they had known about Trump's wrongdoings. Trump's attorneys stated that they lack the right to demand indemnity under the new state executive legislation, 6312 York, even if the Attorney General can demonstrate that part of Trump's profits were unfair. According to Trump's lawyers Pandemic, the court is simply not free to accept the invitation to ignore the facts, irrefutable evidence, and testimony of actual participants in the transaction. The defense team for Trump continued, saying that throughout the 11-week trial, NYAG did not provide any proof that anyone was harmed by the falsehood or rallied behind it. In their brief, the Attorney General's office stated that it was inevitable that the defendants planned to commit fraud when they prepared and certified Trump's financial disclosure reports. They have lost faith in benign explanations due to the numerous dishonest tactics they employ to conceal the truth and boost property values. On January 11, the opposing sides will make their closing arguments in front of Judge Arthur Engoron, who has already ended the case involving Trump, his eldest sons, and the company. Business fraud is continuing and pervasive, and it is the fault of his family's eponymous estate. The state's claims, according to the defense, were imprecise and did not demonstrate any misconduct. Regarding the previous precedent, it is unclear from the record whose defendant, if any, was involved. Is she accountable for what behavior? As stated in the defense filing, there isn't any solid proof that President Trump filed a fictitious SFC, nor is there any evidence at all. The state emphasized that it presented direct evidence from multiple witnesses demonstrating that Trump had his desired target net worth each year prior to taking office in 2017 and that his CFO and his controller then dedicated themselves to the goal of achieving it by reversing the value of the asset. The state made reference to the financial disclosure statements the Trump Organization filed with banks and insurance companies. Under the direction of Eric Trump and Donald Trump Jr., the SFC has a practice wherein the party submissions, briefs, and closing arguments serve as a reference for Judge Engoron when he rules on 6 further causes of action against Trump and what constitutes financial penalties. In his most recent ruling during the trial on December 18, Gorin rejected Trump's last-minute request to have the case dismissed and indicated that the judge was skeptical of the defense team's assertions, characterizing them as fraud at worst and deception at best. I sincerely appreciate you staying until the very end. Please share your thoughts about this news with us in the comments below, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button and give us a thumbs up. See you in the upcoming news. America, God bless you. Goodbye.